quote because I got to read to. I'm going to apply for a job at First Take. I'm telling you right now, part-time, I'm coming on board helping you guys out. Can you type in Brittany Griner?
I'd bring you on.
I'd have fun with you. Brittany Griner, where she says, right there, watch this. Every time we play her, there's this commotion, like this loud rumbling from the stands. Turns out it's people, thousands of them, just sitting there watching on purpose. It's very disruptive. She says, WNBA games used to be a chill, quiet place. You could bring your laptop and relax, maybe even get a little work done. But now...
The debate surrounding Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese had previously sparked considerable discussion when sports analyst Jamela Hill made a striking prediction. Hill declared that Angel Reese would eventually become the Michael Jordan equivalent of women's professional basketball by the conclusion of her career. This statement generated significant conversation across sports media platforms at the time. During that same period, a satirical piece emerged featuring Brittany Griner supposedly complaining about increased fan attendance at games. The fictional quote portrayed Griner expressing frustration about the transformation of arena atmospheres.
You could bring your laptop and relax, maybe even get a little work done. But now it's like there's large gatherings of people watching us from the stands. Some of them are yelling crazy shit about what they're seeing, putting unfair pressure on us to score like we're there for their entertainment. You are. The whole thing is toxic. I saw a guy with his daughter in the crowd, both of them yelling, couldn't hear what they were saying exactly, but it was either my performance or some light racism. But here's where I'm going with this. So the WNBA says they want to get paid more. They're saying this year they're going to make $1 billion. That's what they're saying, okay?
According to the parody, she lamented how contests had shifted from quiet, peaceful environments where attendees could work on laptops to loud, crowded venues filled with thousands of spectators deliberately watching the action. The fabricated commentary described fans yelling enthusiastically about plays, creating what was jokingly termed unfair pressure on athletes to perform as though they existed for audience entertainment. The satire even included absurd claims about seeing families cheering together, with exaggerated concerns about whether reactions stemmed from performance criticism or subtle prejudice. Despite being clearly satirical, this content circulated widely and sparked genuine discussions about fan culture. The financial impact of Caitlin Clark's presence became starkly evident when she sustained an injury requiring a 2-week absence from competition.
For the first time ever. Now that Caitlin Clark is hurt for 2 weeks, did you see ticket prices? Insane. Let me read you the ticket prices. After Caitlin Clark's been hurt for 2 weeks. All right? So let's go through this. Caitlin Clark absence is having an immediate impact beyond the court. According to data shared by Yahoo Sports via TickPick, prices for 2 specific Indiana Fever away games against the Chicago Sky.
Ticket pricing data revealed dramatic shifts in market demand. Analysis from ticketing platforms showed that Indiana Fever away games experienced sharp price drops following news of Clark's unavailability. Before her injury announcement, minimum entry costs for a Chicago matchup stood at $86, while Washington game access required at least $41. After confirmation that Clark would miss these contests, entry prices plummeted to $25 for Chicago and $14 for Washington. These substantial decreases raised questions about the league's ability to manage newfound attention and navigate tensions surrounding Clark's prominence.
This for 2 specific Indiana Fever away games against the Chicago Sky and the Washington Mystics dropped sharply after Clark was sidelined. Before the injury, the lowest ticket available for Fever's matchup in Chicago was $86. For the game in Washington, fans needed at least $41 to get in. After the news of Clark's absence, those get-in prices fell to $25 from $86 and $14 from $41. What the hell is going on with WNBA that they cannot handle all this?
Time emphasized several perspectives on these developments. Regarding the satirical Griner content, analysts pointed out that someone who had endured imprisonment abroad and returned home through a controversial exchange involving a convicted arms dealer might view ordinary fan enthusiasm differently. The pointed observation noted that typical arena behavior exists across all professional sports, with passionate spectators being standard rather than exceptional. The commentary suggested that someone in Griner's position would likely embrace such normalcy rather than finding it bothersome, making the satire's exaggeration particularly striking. Concerning Caitlin Clark's impact, analysts who had identified patterns early faced criticism for their observations.
What the hell is going on with WNBA that they cannot handle all this attention that they're getting, as well as the hate and anger towards Caitlin Clark?
first things first. Respectfully, Brittany Griner was in a Russian prison. You would think that somebody who is now free, back in America on a home soil.
The core issue wasn't personal animosity toward Clark herself, but rather what her success represented within the league's history. Outstanding black female athletes had performed exceptionally for years without receiving comparable recognition or media coverage. Clark's arrival changed everything dramatically. This rookie phenomenon wreaked havoc on conventional expectations, securing Rookie of the Year honors and finishing fourth in MVP voting during her debut season. Her playing style drew comparisons to elite shooters, with capability to score from anywhere on the court.
Who is now free, back in America on home soil, would not have too much to complain about. Especially something like this. Fans in every sport. She described the fans.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what sport you are. It doesn't matter what sport you pick. That's how fans act in every arena. In every arena. So, and then when
falling short of championship victories in college competition, her talent justified top draft selection status. The recommendation at that time centered on capitalizing on momentum. The rising tide concept applied perfectly. When one element elevates, all connected components benefit. Clark represented genuine star quality, not merely adequate performance. Her exceptional abilities commanded attention organically.
in every arena. So, and then when you clearly she's not remembering who they let out to get her back.
The
or
Merchant
American
of
Soul.
Death.
The Merchant of Death. An arms dealer that wanted to kill American citizens, according to the reports. That's who they let out for her. You would think that you would be smiling, you would be ecstatic, you would be happy, and something like
the demographic composition of her fan base and her identity as a young white athlete potentially contributed to media fascination. The strategic approach suggested embracing this reality and allowing everyone to profit from increased visibility. Defenders of established players argued that resentment stemmed from legitimate grievances. Talented athletes who had excelled for years felt their contributions deserved recognition that arrived only after Clark's emergence. This frustration was understandable given the circumstances.
you would be smiling, you would be ecstatic, you would be happy, and something like this wouldn't faze you at all. The fact that it does is disturbing. I'll leave it at that. When it comes to Caitlin Clark, now I've taken hits because I was calling it from day one. You got people that are resentful towards her, but it's really not about her, guys. It's about what she represents. Before she ever came along, there were a lot of outstanding basketball players who happened to be black.
Historical parallels existed throughout sports history. Numerous players experienced jealousy toward dominant figures like Michael Jordan. Detroit's aggressive tactics against Jordan before his championship breakthrough exemplified such dynamics. Eventually, Jordan adapted physically and mentally, transforming challenges into motivation. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Kobe Bryant, and others all faced similar resentment during their ascension. This pattern represented normal competitive psychology. The resentment itself wasn't inherently problematic. Actually, such tension could prove beneficial by intensifying competitive drive and elevating performance standards. Athletes channeling frustration into motivation raised the quality of play while increasing league profitability for everyone involved. However, concerning signs emerged suggesting some within the organization preferred less prosperity rather than acknowledging Clark's role in their improved circumstances. This attitude persisted despite months of public discussion about these dynamics. Counter-arguments emerged defending perspectives often dismissed in these discussions. The satirical Griner commentary, while obviously fabricated, touched on real inexperience with large crowds among some veteran players. Historical context mattered. College programs generated fan enthusiasm, but professional women's basketball had struggled with attendance for years. The best attendance driver the league ever experienced was Clark herself from a commercial standpoint. Previous stars like Diana Taurasi and Lisa Leslie deserved respect for their contributions, but honest assessment required acknowledging attendance challenges. Points characterized the league as financially troubled, describing it as operating at losses with minimal attendance before Clark's arrival. Data showed attendance declining during her 2-week absence, raising doubts about long-term sustainability. Questions about championship winners and leading players often went unanswered by casual observers, illustrating limited public engagement. The argument positioned these discussions as manufactured narratives around genuine indifference. Revenue projections became central to debates about viability. The league could approach or exceed $1 billion in annual revenue, driven by surging popularity, increased ticket sales, merchandise revenue, and television contracts, particularly due to Clark's influence. Market analysts predicted significant growth, with global valuations potentially crossing the billion-dollar threshold. This represented potential transformation after 25 years of losses. Critics questioned whether projections reflected sustainable growth or temporary spikes. Supporters countered that growth had begun before Clark's arrival and accelerated substantially afterward, with no indication of reversal. Additional emerging talent like USC's Juju Watkins, who showed exceptional promise during her freshman tournament performance, suggested sustained pipeline development. Comparisons arose between WNBA All-Stars and elite high school competition, though such hypotheticals distracted from actual growth metrics. Underlying dynamics involved female audience support. Successful enterprises typically enjoyed strong female demographic backing. Professional football's expansion coincided with increased female viewership and engagement. Basketball leagues benefited from NBA. Sports thrive on animosity and competitive tension. Examples from combat sports illustrated this principle. Heavyweight discussions involving Jon Jones generated excitement through confrontational buildup. Historic fights between Daniel Cormier and Jon Jones or Khabib Nurmagomedov against Conor McGregor demonstrated how personal animosity elevated interest. Floyd Mayweather strategically scheduled major fights during culturally significant dates, amplifying competitive narratives. This principle applied equally to basketball rivalries. Games between Clark's Indiana Fever and Angel Reese's team drew particular attention precisely because underlying tension existed. Animosity transformed ordinary matchups into must-watch events, driving viewership and statistical interest. The competitive fervor generated by these dynamics represented precisely what leagues needed for sustained growth and cultural relevance. Observers committed to tracking performance metrics specifically in rivalry matchups, recognizing that interpersonal dynamics between star players fundamentally altered audience engagement levels and commercial outcomes across the entire league structure.